How did the friend get up there?
She was driven over there by her father.
Why was she doing?
Carly asked her to come over.
You know, for what purpose?
She showed her deceased mother to the friend.
You showed her deceased mother?
Yes.
You know why she asked her over there?
Not entirely sure. She just said it's an emergency. I need you to come over.
Carly Gregg, after allegedly shooting and killing her mother, like 3 shots, then contacts her friend and says, there's an emergency, come over. So her friend's father apparently drives her over to the house. So now you've got 14-year-old Carly Gregg with her friend from school, apparently, in the house with her mother's body on the ground, shot and killed, shot 3 times. Here's the investigator describing what takes place next inside that house with these 2 children.
She essentially stated that she was invited over to the residence by Carly, was unsure what for. That she had walked in. Carly asked her if she had ever seen a dead body before. She said no. Proceeded to show her deceased mother that was in the bedroom. Showed the gun that she used to shoot her mom. Told that she had 3 shots for her mom, and then she's got 3 more for her stepdad, 2 to the head, 1 to the chest.
Have you ever seen a dead body before? And then proceeds to show her friend a dead body, her mother's body on the ground. Brings me to my next question in this case. Why did she show her friend? What's going on there? What motivated that action by Carly Gregg? Forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and author and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Dr. Carol Lieberman, I'll begin with you. Why call your friend to come over? And then why show her the dead body?
Good question, Vinny. You know, one thing that it makes me think of is that she has, apparently some of her friends said that she has been talking about for quite a while that she wanted to kill her mother. And nobody really took it seriously, presumably because, you know, she was such a good student and so on. You know, it didn't seem like someone who would shoot their mother. But so perhaps one reason was to show them that, yes, see, I was really serious. Nobody believed me, but look, I did shoot her. And so then the question is, well, why did she shoot her? And there are a couple, I have a number of theories for that. One is that her mother.
Well, before we get into the shooting, Dr. Carol,
sure.
I want to get a few more details from James. Dr. Carol Lieberman, I want to put this up. This is from the affidavit for a search warrant, and the names has been redacted. But the friend stated that when she had arrived at Carly's residence, that Carly had already killed her mother. The friend stated that Carly asked if she wanted to wait outside and that her stepdad, Heath Smiley, was about to be home. The friend stated that she waited outside a short time after Heath returned home. She heard 3 gunshots. The friend stated that Carly ran out of the door into the backyard and they both climbed over the fence and ran from the scene. So Dr. Carol Lieberman, for that friend who is injected into this by Carly, what are your concerns for her as she has to somehow try to understand all of this?
Well, you know, to the extent that Carly told her friend what her plan was to kill her father, you know, one has to wonder why the friend didn't call 911 or didn't run away before they both ran away together. I mean, clearly the friend is going to probably feel some guilt. She's going to be traumatized. She's going to be angry at Carly for involving her. You know, Carly was apparently just singing to her dogs before the friend came over. So on the one hand, she's telling the friend this is an emergency. On the other hand, she's acting like it's not an emergency. She's playing and singing to her dogs. But that friend is, of course, going to be incredibly traumatized by all of this.
And the stepfather talked about, like, saying, listen, it's me, Carly, it's me, as if she didn't necessarily recognize him. And again, when he looked at her, he saw her eyes, and it was as if she had seen a demon. Which brings me to a really big question in this case. Why would she do this? Look at her. She's 15 in this picture, but she looks like she's 10. Let me bring in my guest. Also with us, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and author and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. The thing that strikes me, Dr. Carol Lieberman, is that look in her eyes as if she had just seen a demon. Does that tell you anything about what's going on and why she may have done this?
Well, the first thing that it makes me think of is that perhaps he was the demon. Perhaps when she saw him, all of the things, again, I don't have proof of this, but apparently she has told at least one friend, though, and the police supposedly investigated about her stepfather abusing her. The police didn't find anything, but she told at least one person that he was abusing her in some way. So perhaps he was the demon. It's like, here you are, you're the person who's been doing all of this. You've been the demon towards me.
Now, there's another piece to this puzzle that I want to bring up right now, and I think it may be a very big piece. Let's take a listen to the investigator talking here about medication. Medication that Carly Gregg, again, 14 years old, was taking or stopped taking. Let's listen.
To your knowledge, what medication was Carly taking to the time of the incident?
Your Honor, I object as to relevance.
Your Honor, that's the argument for law.
Okay.
At the initial date that this occurred, there was no knowledge of her taking medication. At the time that she was arrested, it was later found out that she had been on some prescription medication.
And do you know what prescription medication that was?
Not all of it. I believe she had been taking Lexapro.
And do you know how long she'd been taking Lexapro for?
It was, to my understanding, she had changed it at the end of the week beforehand, but not sure the exact date.
Okay, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Lexapro. What would a child be taking that for, number one? And number two, is there any adverse effect if you are taking a medication like that and then stop taking that medication?
There could be a lot of problems with it. Well, except first, I want to just say a lot of times people want to blame medications like Lexapro or antidepressants, or Lexapro is given for anxiety or depression or depression. And to be honest, the people it's kind of one of those medications that if you're not really sure what's going on, you give them Lexapro. That in itself could be a problem, obviously, but yes, if you're supposed to, there are different reports. One is that she was on the Lexapro and then she changed to something else. And then there have been other reports that she was on something else and then they changed her to Lexapro. So I don't know what the order of this. But when you change medication, you do have to do it very carefully. You have to titrate one medication down slowly and then begin the other one more, slowly as well. So, for example, if she was on Lexapro and really she had some kind of psychosis and should have been on a medication that was an antipsychotic, because in fact they're saying that in the jail she's been hearing voices. So, her psychiatric background is not very clear at this point. One, because the records, they haven't really done a full evaluation, particularly in regard to not guilty by reason of insanity. But there are records from different places where she was getting treatment, and so we don't know that yet. That is something that is being put together by the defense.
James, is there any more information regarding her mental status, either as a young child or closer to the time of the shooting?
Not really, but I'd like to add something to what she said. And if she wants to discuss this, feel free to. Her attorney testified in court that she had switched to Lexapro 5 days before the murder. My question is everybody's assuming, well, maybe the Lexapro caused it to happen. What about her withdrawal They said she was using another drug before. What about withdrawal from the previous drug created these feelings within her? I don't know. She's the expert. What do you think, Doc?
Well, yes, it certainly could be something where it was the switching over was not done properly, but it also could be something that she was on an antipsychotic before, and then some doctor in his wisdom thought, oh, well, she doesn't need an antipsychotic. Let's just give her Lexapro. And she really did need an antipsychotic. So I don't know, but that's something that does happen sometimes.
And how important, Dr. Carol Lieberman, is that issue and determining the medications and determining the amounts and how you go from one medication to the other? Could that be sort of the linchpin in trying to understand what was going on inside of her mind?
That plus whatever her real diagnosis is.
So,
Vinny?
Go ahead, James. We have information on that?
I'd like to add to what she was saying, because I think you hit on something, and it went on in court today, which is this is why the judge and the prosecution was getting aggravated with the defense. The defense has yet to provide them with any medical records whatsoever.
I want to take a look at this because the defense made a motion for a bond reduction, and there's some facts here, Dr. Carol Lieberman, I want you to take into consideration. We're trying to figure out the why of this because it's clear that she was smart. Carly was an honor roll student of the year at Northwest Rankin High School prior to her arrest. The mind of a child who is extremely smart, but may be suffering from some condition, how do those two things mix together? Do they reveal anything about the child?
Well, it mix together in a number of different ways. One way is that a child who's super intelligent can try to hide some of the signs of mental illness. Another way that it could mask or mesh together is that, which I think might be the case here, is that you don't expect a child who's that intelligent to have mental illness, but certainly they can. And, you know, I just want to say I was watching that today, too, about what happened in court. I'm kind of disappointed in the defense because they seem to be letting this mental illness aspect get away from them. You know, I don't know why they let the prosecution be the one to hire a mental health expert to evaluate for competency. Why didn't they have? I mean, usually that both sides have a psychiatrist or a psychologist evaluate for competency. I don't know why the defense just let that go. And now also, yes, they're letting their psychiatrist, you know, take too long to give some kind of a report. And yes, it's a woman, a psychologist was on the stand, and she said that she has sort of recused herself in a way because since medications play such a role, it's really something that a psychiatric expert witness would deal with.
Exactly. And as we try to get to the answer of why this happened, it seems that is the missing piece, is the history, the psychotic history, the exact medicine, what the diagnosis, and then ultimately what her state of mind was on that day. And those questions, I believe, still remain unanswered. So I don't know if we can answer that question right now, but I do want to thank Dr. Carol Lieberman for joining us, giving us great insight as always.